Hello all, my name is Joffrey, and I am a Christian. I have decided to write a great poem, great in the sense of long, to commemorate Pride Month. Yea, though it be the 24th year of the reign of our Lord Jesus Christ, yet it seems that some of these new gods, or be they old gods, have reared their heads once more. And so I have written this. Let's enjoy. Now, before I start reading it, I want to tell you, it's a long poem, and this is not the sort of thing one usually clicks on a YouTube video for. So, if, mirabile visu, you have clicked on this, I'm going to tell you ahead of time that this is indeed a moral tale. It has three morals. The first is, women are awesome. The second is, stop being so gay. And the third is, come to Jesus. Now, you will be best equipped to follow along with this poem if you are familiar with Greek mythology, particularly the story of Prometheus and Zeus and the creation of Pandora, the first woman. If you are familiar with the Iliad and the Odyssey, and if you're familiar with the Oresteia, it also will help you to be familiar with the story of Orpheus and the death of Orpheus particularly. Yes, this work is littered with lots of classical references. I hope that regardless of the degree of and direction of your education, that you find it entertaining regardless. This is, after all, a poem written in 2024 for 2024, again, in commemoration of Pride Month. Well, we're a couple of minutes into the video. There are 11 chapters to this poem, so go ahead and buckle in and enjoy. 1. The First Woman. The gods keep hidden from men the means of life. Their artful secrets they hoard beyond our reach, and sell like sophists the goods they have to teach. This is the story of how man got a wife. Prometheus was crafty and dared deceive and mock the wrathful Zeus by stealing fire. Man watched and learned to burn and conspire. We should have known that Zeus would vengeance weave. Prometheus, sullen and cunning beyond compare, catches fire hidden in Fennel's hollow core. Zeus creates a curse, the heart of a whore, Aphrodite's lips, Athena's hair. Son of Iapetus, surpassing all in cunning, are you glad to have outwitted me? A plague to you yourself, and to men it shall be. I'll give to men for fire an evil thing. So said the father of men and gods, and laughed. Hephaestus he bade mix water with dirt and haste, and pour in it all malice without waste, the worst thing the hunchbacked god did ever craft. This is the thing I'll give to make men glad, even as they embrace their own destruction. Listen, he-gods and she-gods, to my instruction. Disaster's recipe by ingredient will add. Hephaestus, make it strong and full of voice. Make it as beautiful as a goddess bright. Doom them to worship this gift I give as a blight. Desire shall make them serve it without choice. Athena, teach it needlework and weaving, the several webs that hold man in his place. Aphrodite, baptize it in your grace, your cruel longing and your cares so deceiving. Hermes, O poet, give it the mind of a slut, or if that word be too strong, the mind of a hussy. Make her deceptive and mean and shameless and fussy. And that is the mud from which first woman is cut. Athena, bright goddess, her clothes and bedecks, crowns her head in golden rich-haired hours, weaves her shining tresses in springtime flowers, graces and persuasions she puts on her neck. Hermes, he who sang Argos to sleep and slipped his sword across the giant's throat, whose words cross oceans faster than boats, contrives within her evils for man to reap. Such crafty words and sneaky lies to teach, a nature deceitful he embeds within, with the urge to unleash 1,000 deadly sins. Lastly, the herald of gods grants her speech. Speech! Gods! She'll surely talk too much. She looks like Hera, who nags her lord, and tells him not to top cows when he's bored. We begin to hate this curse, but want to touch. And Zeus called her Pandora, it is said, because all they that dwell on Olympus steep, each gave her a gift that makes men weep. Woman is the end of men who eat bread. 2. Abdication. Poseidon is the lord of wine-faced seas, and master of every horse that mankind rides. Both men and gods make horses to cruise the tides, reversed, on water saddles, in horses' bellies. Strong-grieved, proud Achilles circles Troy. He's pulled by black-eyed horses through the dust, on a chariot bearing glory and its lust. Oh, the tamer of horses has killed his special boy. The forest pines primeval murmur hemlocks. The six-fingered hands of titans and witches fail to scratch where the poetry itches. The hand of measured Homer Achilles mocks. My mother Thetis, goddess silver-shod, has spoken true. I walk 2 roads to death, to choose or bright and clear, or home and breath, depending on the path my foot has trod. And if one thing is proven by these ships we catalogued and sang painstakingly, it is that clans and countries sacredly conspire to remember foreign lips. Keep me, O kings, from Sheol and Hades and mist. Young harpists hire, and poets who strum at lyre. Invent an alphabet like the sons of Tyre. Lest we forget, write our long warfare's list. Paris is woman-mad and must be always stroked. He leaves his friends alone to all the fighting bear. He sits among his women and lets them brush his hair. I hear the flowing-locked Achaeans jape and joke. Menelaus, unspeakable glory was thine, if rightful prey from you were not snatched by Aphrodite, queen of hearts unlatched. Now Paris sits in chambers and armor shines. Menelaus, unspeakable glory was thine, if Athena's plans for you were not unlatched by Aphrodite, queen of hearts and snatch. Now Paris's serving women bring him wine. This prince of Trojans, handsome and noble once thought to be by all Achaeans, is unsound of heart. Like a woman, he's loth to from soft things depart, and even his wife sees he'll get got by the rot. Great Hector of the shining helmet spoke to Helen these kindly words. Do not beg that I sit, even though you love me. Renege, not I, while Trojans endure sword stroke. They long for me, and I am not with them. But rouse this Paris, let him hurry to the front, and leave off worshipping woman's cunt. Already my heart is set on aiding the men. I go my wife and child and people seek to see again before the final fray. Perhaps the gods will soon, this very day, destroy me at the hands of a Greek. Paris fiddles the string of his golden bow, and pouts as Hector lectures and blathers on about the duty of every father's son to go and face for glory's sake the foe. Medea-like, he vengefully chooses to wield a witch's weapon, something to bite an ankle, something sneaky, precise, that seeks an angle, like a woman he only pretends to yield. Achilles is woman-mad, and must be always stroked. He leaves his friends alone to all the fighting bear. He sits among his women, and lets them braid his hair. I hear the horse-taming Trojans jape and joke. His friends call to him, but he'll not raise a hand to help them in their cause of war. Choose, Achilles, which love, friends or whores? Odysseus and Ajax weep for his lustful craze. Achilles fiddles the string of his golden lyre, and pouts as Odysseus blathers on about the duty of Thetis' godlike son to face for brother's sake the Trojans dire. 3. The shield of Achilles. Ajax! Ajax is he of enormous spear, dancing on ships, fighting on the rails. His brother Teucer launches his arrows as hail, while fearful Trojan torches surge to draw near. Teucer kills Cleitus, the son of Pisanor, with the bow that Phoebus Apollo gave. Polydamas king the body saves, and then returns to where the fight is sore. Teucer kills Hector, or would have, if not for Zeus. The fighting should be over at the hulls, but Zeus breaks the bowstring as Teucer pulls. Alas, how heaven thwarts our weapon's use! Teucer shakes with anger at God's plan. Ajax is by far more sanguinary. Teucer is an archer, visionary, and archers think they are more god than man. Ajax always stands in shield wall. He brings his awful skill and strength to bear, but learns that fate and chance will warriors snare. Regardless of their skill, his comrades fall. Brother, let your bow and arrows be. Pick up your ox-hide shield and horsehair helm. They'll find it's hard our ships to overwhelm if we fight the way that gods and men prefer to see. Teucer the archer for a god is named, a lord of storms, a wielder of lightning and thunder. His brother, renowned the day he goes under, has killed himself because he is ashamed. In future, Teucer, banished unjustly, will say, "Do not despair, the word of Apollo is true. Tomorrow sail we out upon the blue. Another city we'll found in a brighter bay." Achilles' shield unto itself is a world, a middle hanging of moon and stars and sun, of harvest and sacrifices never done, the feasts of peace and banners of war unfurled. Hephaestus forged the vines and olive trees, arranging the order of things as they always are. Flower-garlanded heifers and wandering stars, with marble cities and ships on untamed seas. Hephaestus, thin-lipped armorer, hobbled away. For Thetis he'd wrought to please Achilles the strong, iron-hearted Achilles who'd not live long, and she of shining breasts cried out in dismay. She saw no sign upon the metal bright of any world where promises were kept, or one could weep because another wept. A serpent instead she saw, an ankle bite. Odysseus it is who Achilles' armor takes to the final dishonor of Telamonian Ajax. The man of many paths sets sail and sacks Ismaros, but Ajax a self-ruin makes. 4. Odysseus woven. The path the fox of Ithaca walks from Troy is bound to be a trip to the Cicones. Their wives are plump and pleasant, plunder to seize, worth the death of 12 times 6 our boys. Cyclops, if any ask the cause of your blindness, know I am Odysseus, sacker of cities. As stranger I seized treasures without pity, but you have plundered and eaten up your guests. Then Polyphemus with hands to starry skies. O Father, dark-tressed lord of sea's embrace, hear me if son I am by blood and grace. With pleading hands Poseidon's praise I cry. Odysseus, city-breaker, Laertes' son, seeks return, but make him always roam. May he never see the hills of home, let him never see what his weaver spun. May his path ever stay beyond sailors' recall, and Ithaca's fair shores forever shun his yearning eyes, his homeward voyage undone. No homecoming grant in Ithaca's great hall. Yet if decreed his homeland he shall see, his faithful friends, his cherished dwelling space, let trials mark his journey's weary pace, grant him only woes and misery. Odysseus, like a woman, weaves his tangles. Penelope, like a man, is loyal to the end, while Circe's words their own threads wend. Odysseus, like a woman, looks for angles. 5. Women of Athens. Pardon. The brides of Athens offer the fates their hair. Cut your way through one web first. The thread you get to next is always cursed. You simply find yourself in another snare. When Agamemnon returns with plundered gold, his wife and her lover receive him with bloody blade. Now the men of Argos are afraid. In a web of crimson rich the body is rolled. Athena, will you for justice not allow the Furies to do what women always want? A woman is earth and blood, and Furies haunt their killers and their sons. Oh, sacrifice a sow! The blood of pigs is favored by gods, elementals of earth, of grain and wine and frenzied feast. Let us tear apart the bodies, at least, of those preferring men's to women's gentles. No mother bore Athena in her womb, therefore of man the champion herself she styles. Not woman, in heart as in birth, her father's child. The seed is the man's, the woman just a brooding room. Oh, look on Athens and their women's noble example. They live for their husbands, the heart and pride of their city. When cherished, they oil their hair. To make themselves pretty, they bathe in milk and arrange their tresses ample. Though whipped, they shed no tears upon the floor, but kneel and richer penances demand. Observe the women of Athena Pallas's land. They suffer to support their husbands' might in war. When men in 1,000 ships for soldiers sail, these women weave their tapestry borders long, and with myriad looms they weave in lonely song. In 1,000 quarantines each awaits her male. Upon their return, roaring lusty and thirsty, they crudely tear from their wives intimate caresses, obscenely demand in loud and open addresses what should in chambers be, and make them dirty. Oh, look on Athens and their women's noble thighs! Behold the ladies, paragons of grace, who strip for their husbands, those brave in battle's face. They've plundered slaves and girls, and deserve their prize. When topped with wine new nightly revels beckon, they seek out dalliance and women of strange race. But at night's end, in pieces, return to the embrace of their little Helens, and all will be well, they reckon. Behold these admirable women, models of restraint. They're called to nurture the future of Athens' princes. Persimmons feed them, and honey and quinces. They bear the sons of Athens, and never faint. Without quality or defect, devoid of will or taste, they have no dreams, but omens only, and fear. Their visions are haunted by husbands' funeral bier, wine-dark oceans, sirens, shipwrecks, and waste. Oh, look on Athens and her women dressed in black. They fear for their husbands, Athens' heroes and lovers, the stained young widows and abandoned expectant mothers. They make no scene, but in mourning vigils shrink back. Oh, look on Athens and her women's chastity rare, when faithful, of utmost use to their lords, who want nothing more than to sheathe their swords. Praise wives consumed for love of husbands and their care. 6. The prostitute. You know who had the mind of a slut? Rahab. Now there was one faithless, easily hired. We faithfully visited every day. She conspired with Hebrew spies. Was Jericho really that bad? We had a deal. She had her house in the wall, away from the eyes of our wives, but nothing shameful. We gave her gifts. Her employment, her use, was gainful. Her clan was honored, if I correctly recall. Mind you, she was no temple prostitute, just a loose woman, but a portal to Ashtoreth nonetheless, a giver of the little death. She knew the score. I should have been more astute. You know who had a woman's mind? Rahab. Fearful and faithless, secretive she'd always been. They say the Hebrews treat her like a queen. And what did I get? Look, I got stabbed. 7. The Furies. They are so frightening, we dare only call them good. The goodly ones, the kind ones, woe betide the slayer, especially kin-killer, when raging from their lair emerge the Furies, hag avengers of blood. The ghost of Clytemnestra begs they wake. They mutter and kick in their sleep like dogs who dream, while she who devised a husband-murdering scheme screams and screams that they wake and soothe her ache. Being a ghost, all she can do now is follow stage directions. Ghost sinks. The Furies wake. Sisters! 1,000 winks have gone. It seems we've missed a royal row. Orestes slew his mother and now must die. Clytemnestra's blood screams from the ground, reminding us that we're by oaths bound to silence what murder calls out, the plaintive cry. And why did Orestes kill his axe-wielding mother? She'd killed her husband, Agamemnon king, sire of Orestes, plus 2 girl siblings. Electra was one who plotted with her brother. Speaking of 2 girl children born, did you hear that Agamemnon returned with Cassandra the seer in tow as booty he'd earned? And already she'd twin girls delivered, forlorn. Clytemnestra had her killed as well. Of course, what an insult to parade all that booty, to let her talk to the city's men, distracting from duty. But we let those murders slide asleep in hell. And why did Clytemnestra in a rage confront, hack and slash and roll in a rug her master? Because he, to avoid climatological disaster, had offered Iphigenia to Artemis of the hunt. Iphigenia, that was the other's name. You've likely forgotten her, not even a woman yet, a beautiful princess who cried and begged he relent. He wept his tears, but gave the goddess her game. And why did Agamemnon eviscerate his beautiful girl child and offer her liver? for fear his fleet would not to Ilion be delivered, that he'd miss out on vengeance by arriving too late. Menelaus, unspeakably strong and bold, but Aphrodite opened your wise thighs to Paris, Trojan princeling, careless of lies. To think, Agamemnon's brother a cuckold. Sisters, Furies, goodly ones, hear! That's a lot of murders, a lot of blood crying out from the soil in ghastly flood. We should be choosy about the ledgers we clear. We are revengers of womanhood thwarted, the bleeders and breeders sent to man as dire curse from Zeus himself for the theft of fire. We are that hope left in the jar, aborted. 8. The kindly ones. Death notes and dark songs Apollo hates. The advocate he plays as a god of verbs, attacking the Furies, whose hypocrisy disturbs the very warp of the cosmos he highly rates. Apollo is twice the god of verbs, of poetry and music, beauty, archers, contagion. He needs cities, people, and persuasion. Alas for women, witchers, and users of herbs. Athena passes judgment. The Furies are fickle. They show preference. She'll show none. The ghastly ones are given their night in the sun. For Athens, they're suddenly tame, dropping daggers for sickles. They are earth goddesses still, frightening, but venerable now, subject to sky gods, badgered, bribed, berated, bawds turned frauds, enraged until Athena mentions Zeus's lightning. 9. The death of Orpheus. Orpheus charmed his way across Styx's stream. Recall any possessed of a romantic bone in their bodies, any who pine alone. Each is the princess the most beautiful man redeems. The Maenads want only to play panpipes. These are mad women, unminded, demented, the fruit of their reason unrinded. They drink the frenzy of grapes overripe. Orpheus returns to Thrace upon the death of Eurydice, almost rescued wife. In death's domain he'd bargained for her life, but reneged, looking back into the depths. The poets still wonder why he lacked the spine to play the man and choose to die, but balked. Rather than choose her company, he mocked the gods, trying to be both man and divine. Dionysius. Now there was a god who loved his human mother, embraced his twin nature, ascended and descended with a grin. Generations have trod. The god and the man, most gorgeous of each kind. Oversexed, the mad women whose cult is wine and frenzy, who in orgy exult, cannot have their god, so a man they'll find. But the thing about Orpheus that Eurydice obscures is that the company the lyrist craves is that of men, youths who are soon to shave. They share one love, the songs that ever endure. Hearing him sing of Adonis and the like, the frenzied women beg for his attentions. Their maws are wet with slobber, his rejection's unbearable. This is the breaking of the dike. The wildest one cries, "See, despiser of women! Pandora was the first, beautiful to admire, but curse of Zeus himself for the theft of fire. They hate us, even needing us for children." The wildest one cries, "See, hater of our sex!" The rocks and sticks the Maenads throw at the bard apologize, for they love his voice unmarred. But they strike. His face with blood is spattered and specked. Orpheus runs, pleading for his life. His mind returns to hell and looks behind. He ponders the distance between the sexes twined to each other, locked in spousal strife. The rumor's been he's switching gods above, exchanging Apollos' son and order bright for Dionysus, a god who devours and excites. Here is your paragon of romantic love. He runs, he pleads, he ponders his passions. In loving Eurydice, himself he adored. That mirror broken, he found better and more. He's the Thracian who made boy love the fashion. The wildest one cries, "See, hater of our sex! He despises us and cares nothing for sons, for his name lives on in the songs of his tongue. We'll tear from his voice the seed, no poems to erect." Long spades and harvesting rakes they find. These they seize, the frenzied women engage, and first the ox and chickens feel their rage. Innocents, screaming, flee their bloody tide. Then to the poet they turn with spit and spite. In vain he lifts beseeching hands, in vain he tries as before his never-failing strains, but his fate, now past prevention, is writ. His melodies had moved both rock and bird. Now no song can save him, hands held high in plea. Once charmed lips quieted, his voice torn free and silent, and his soul takes flight unheard. Ah, gods, how pitiless these women, like beasts! Even as he screamed unheard, they tore the shoulder from socket, from his belly the gore, with bare hands, like a baby goat for some feast. The birds lament him, perched upon each tree. Sing of those sacred lips whose thrilling noise filled tigers and senseless rocks and pretty boys with love. Now his head floats out to sea. Dionysius watches, amused in his way, as the face of the only man as beautiful as he floats the wave. His soul in Hades should be, but strangely the head is singing. It heads for Mytilene's bay. There is an oracle, chief on Lesbos Isle, this island of love. Apollo, in blessing unasked, brings the world's first pederast to a place of rest, to prophesy a while. Hades can wait. Now let Sappho sing. Let the women of Greece, beautiful and meek, find the love they desire and the souls they seek. Here under the god Apollo, let praises ring. 10. Mother of all living. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. The light was good, and he split light from dark. There was a day, first light and first dark. He called the day light, and the darkness night. Let us make man in our image, to our likeness like. So God in his own image man created, male and female, to each the other mated. Fill the earth, be fruitful and multiplied. The Lord God formed the man from dust, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. It was not good that he should have no wife. So God made him one, from the same gust of wonder, part of him apart from him. From deep sleep she was formed from his flesh and bone. At last this is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Here is she whom I sought, limb from my limb. They are wise who say that both the sexes shall rise. For before they sinned, the man and the woman were naked and unashamed, and all the world awaited their names, their places, fulfillment under their eyes. From heavenly bodies lust shall be laid aside, while womanly nature shall be preserved in favor. For the sex of a woman is not a vice, but nature. Her beauty, made new, praise to God shall excite. For at the beginning of humanity's creation, the woman was made of a rib taken from the side of the man while he slept, this prefigured Christ and his bride. For it seems that sleep, that rib pierced, was salvation. He hung lifeless upon the cross, was violated with a spear, and there flowed from it blood and water, which we know to be the sacraments, the altar on which the church is built and consecrated. Scripture uses this very word, he built up, not saying he formed or framed, but built her up into a woman, so the church heavenward erupts into her glory, free of sin and guilt. The woman, therefore, is as creature of God as man. And by her creation from man, unity is commended. The manner of her creation was clearly intended to show us Christ and the church for all time span. He who created both sexes, both will restore. Have you not read that he who made them at the start made them male and female into one heart? They two, they two shall be one flesh, becoming more. It is certain, then, that from the first, men were created, two sexes as we see and know them to be. Whether by her origin or matrimony, woman is man's end. She is that for which he'd waited. It is by this original example which God condones that the apostle admonishes all husbands to love their own wives in particular, and to give up their lives for the flesh of his flesh and his own bone's bone. 11. A mother's prayers. I am the mother of Augustino, revered among all men for his wisdom and perspicacity. I prayed for him every day with tenacity still spoken of today. I persevered. My son, like Eve, stole fruit. To Christ I brought his suit. My son, like Rahab, was a whore. I hammered at Christ's door. My son, like Martha, was world-weighted. My prayers to Christ rose unabated. Pandora, here! I see you weaving at your loom. You really were a wicked girl, don't deny, taking after your father like that, his lies. Come away from there, and find your perfect groom. Thank you for listening.